Hi, we're here today with Mike Dixon from Slasher House. Hi, Mike.
How you doing?
Slasher House. Can you tell us a bit about the film and where it's come from and how you came up with the idea?
The idea came well a few years ago. They released. I don't know whether you remember. They released a film called Freddy vs. Jason.
Yes, I do.
And I thought, what a great concept to have, like you know, two kind of iconic characters kind of clashing like that. And it just seemed like a really great idea. That was kind of. It seemed more aimed at kind of like a WWF or kind of audience, and I thought, oh, but like these are horror movies. Why is it not like a horror movie, so to speak? So I sat down and I was watching Saw 2, I think, at the time, and I kind of thought, you know, what'd be great is that if you kind of took those kind of characters and threw them into a concept like Saw 2, where there's a bunch of people stuck in a house. And then, so it kind of started off like that until I kind of went, well, hang on, what happened? What would happen if all the characters in the house were serial killers, and then you took the kind of archetype kind of final girl and threw just her in the middle? So essentially, what you've got is instead of having like a bunch of teenagers being chased down by one killer, you kind of have a bunch of these killers all fighting it out for kind of supremacy, trying to get this one girl. And I kind of thought, that's a really interesting idea. Okay. And I literally, back in 2005, I think, I'd sat down and just started writing it, and it was probably one of the most natural movies I've ever written. A lot of time it takes me years and years and years to really flesh out a concept. Slash House just sat down and just wrote it.
It's based in Isle of Man. In a prison,
yes, it was.
In a prison.
It was, yeah.
Why a prison?
It's a really funny story, actually. We literally searched. We went to every abandoned building in the UK, and not one of them would let us film in there for health and safety issues. But apparently the Isle of Man don't care about health and safety, so we just rang them, and they said, "Oh, we've got this prison." We went down, had a look, and they said, "Yeah, do you want it?" And we said, "Right, can we go to the Isle of Man?" So we kind of looked over the budget and went, I guess so, yeah. So we had essentially what we had to do was just kind of turn the crew into like quarter of what it would have been, and about 5 crew went out there, and the cast, and we went and shot the movie over 2 weeks with a week's prep.
Okay. Any difficulties while you were out there? Anything that really stands out as a hard thing when you were shooting in the Isle of Man?
I suppose when you're away from home, well, because the first film that I ever did, we did in very familiar locations that I'd spent a lot of time around. You know, we did it all locally, kind of in places that I'd go every day, so it was all kind of based around where we lived. Okay. So going out to the Isle of Man and not really knowing anything about where you can get what you need and things like that. I mean, there's not an Argus on the island, so we had a problem if our camera broke, we wouldn't be able to replace it and things like that. And so there were difficulties with unfamiliarity. Obviously, you know, I won't go into the politics of how some of the locals feel about people from the UK. So, but that was an issue at some points. But for the majority, it was a really, really good experience. And it was kind of, I think it forced us into kind of getting to the bones of it and getting it done, because essentially once we were done we could never go back there because they condemned the whole place.
I was going to ask you about that. So obviously the prison's now not standing or not there
we believe we're partially responsible for that.
I mean, the filming inside a prison as well, obviously, you know, there must have been difficulties inside the prison. Did you come across anything that was really hard to film, or, you know, something that you kind of had to go around and do something different to what you originally planned? Or
the really spooky, the scary thing I think about it was that when we finally got in there, the whole thing was laid out as the script was written. Like, it was terrifying. Like, it was a really genuinely haunting experience to walk around and go, like, the whole place is built exactly as the story is written, more or less. You know, there was a couple of tweaks, like, oh, I kind of always imagined those rooms across from each other, but now they're next to each other. But, you know, like, but little tweaks here and there. But, you know, the way it was all set out was kind of scarily perfect for the way what we set out to make.
And have you got anything else in the future coming up, or is that the wraps at the moment?
Too much.
Too much coming up at the moment?
Well, Creep, the first feature film I ever shot is trapped in post-production at the minute for various reasons, actors' availability and things like that. So we're looking to kind of push to get that done as soon as we can this year. and then we've got 3 prequels to Slasher House in pre-production, which once you see the film, you'll kind of understand why.
Yeah, I think we're seeing it tomorrow as well, so it's quite exciting.
Yeah, so once you see the film, you'll kind of understand why there'd be so many prequels, like, you know, not necessarily prequels, but stories that tie into the movie.
I understand that.
And then I've always wanted to do a Christmas horror film, like desperately. It's been like a thing I've wanted to do for years, so I kind of sat there this Christmas and thought, right, okay, I'm gonna go and do it. It's the time, I think, you know. And I've had the concept for years, so this year we're gonna go make Blood on Santa's Claus.
I feel Family Guy coming into this.
Hopefully, but you know, it's a kind of. I feel like there's a lot of Christmas horror films, and none of them are particularly done very well.
Yeah, there's a lot of elf films and, you know, those kind of things.
Yeah.
Cannibalistic reindeers.
Sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah, well, that would be quite interesting.
But I think that I wanted to go out and make like essentially like the definitive Christmas horror film that when people go Christmas horror films, that one springs to mind, kind of, you know. So I think that's the approach with that. But outside of that, like I say, the main thing we're doing is a film called Dawn, which is like a major prequel to Slasher, one of the characters from Slasher House.
Okay, we look forward to seeing more.
Excellent.
About that, and I look forward to seeing the film tomorrow. So thank you very much for your time.
No problem.
And we'll speak to you soon. Thank you.